Catalans this season. I'd have him on my short list of best signings for 2016.
Yeah, he'd be up there, wouldn't he? Halfback Thomas Bosk has signed a 1-year contract with the Catalan Dragons and joined the reserve side coaching team as Jérôme Guisset's assistant. Bosk, who's 33, has been with the Dragons his entire career, joining the UTC club pre-Super League era. I've taken my time before taking a decision, but I feel good and I'm ready to start a new season, Bosk said. I love this sport, I love this club, but I would make sure my body allowed me to keep playing at this level. I'm sure of my choice now and I'm delighted to stay another season. Yeah, so two pieces of Catalan Dragons DNA making some decisions there in Greg Muniz retiring and Bosk signing on for another year.
Certainly, when you think of Catalan, they're two of the names from the start, almost really, that have been from the start that have been there and always been sort of within the fabric of the club. So it's good to see that they're not all departing. It could be a very different Catalan Dragons if all the rumours and suggestions are to come off next season. We might see very different range of overseas players. Obviously, Pat Richards is already retiring. We know about Stewart now.
That's it. Willie Mason's obviously gone.
Mason's gone, and then domestically we know that Muniz won't be there and Elima won't be there. So interesting to see what happens.
Another season of high turnaround for them, won't it? You would think.
The Wizard might be back though. Is talk.
The Wizard,
Mick Potter.
Really? Hey, I love Michael Potter.
I still will never get out of my head that billboard that Bradford had for ages.
Don't. when everything was Potter themed.
Yeah.
I know. Absolutely. Yeah. The bucket shakers of Odsal Town and all that jazz. Right. Okay. So it was the 2016 Kingston Press Championship and League One awards this week, Mark, and the winners are as follows. Championship Player of the Year was Mickey Hyam of the Leigh Centurions. Championship Young Player of the Year was James Cunningham from the London Broncos. And Championship Coach of the Year, deservedly so in my opinion, was our friend John Keir of the Batley Bulldogs.
Uncle Two Skulls.
Uncle Two Skulls himself. So congratulations to those three. League One Player of the Year was Jonathan Ford of Toulouse Olympique. League One Young Player of the Year was Danny Yates of the Rochdale Hornets. And League One Coach of the Year, obviously this took place before the weekend, is Sylvain Houle of Toulouse Olympique.
Well, I think when he led his side to beat Lee and...
yes, of course, I'm being facetious, but yes.
And run roughshod over the competition for most of the year. It's deserving.
Except when it counts. They're going to crumble.
They could do.
Crumble, I think.
They could do, spoiler alert.
Well, yeah. Sorry to all the Toulouse fans that are tuning in to find out how their club got on. Championship Club of the Year was the Leigh Centurions, unsurprisingly. Equally unsurprising is that League One Club of the Year was Toulouse Olympique. Championship Project of the Year was the London Broncos, and the same award for League One went to the Doncaster side. Foundation of the Year went to Bradford Bulls, and Supporters Direct Community Champion was Dave Naylor. So congratulations again to all involved there.
Yeah, Dave Naylor is involved with the Oldham club on a sort of voluntary basis, running some. I think he runs some social media and stuff like that for those guys. So well done to him for giving up his time to help out one of our clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. Keighley have this week hired Batley assistant Craig Lingard as the club's new head coach. Lingard had been instrumental in this year's highly successful campaign where Batley reached the qualifiers in the Super 8s. So that seems like a good, sensible appointment, actually, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's probably a guy who will fit in at that level below.
Yeah.
Will know the sort of playing pool that they'll be looking to bring in, and already has some confidence and success. So comes with a bit of credibility from the role he's played with Batley. Plus, with Batley moving on in a different direction with head coach. For next year,
Diskin taking over, yeah.
I suppose that also makes sense that Diskin can arrange his own backroom staff a bit more as well.
There you go. Kenny Hughes and Liam Thompson have both re-signed with Oldham for 2017, so congratulations to those two young men.
Yeah.
Well, may that continue. Toronto have announced that they've signed London Broncos loose forward Jack Bussey.
Yeah, they're putting together
the
quite a
Wolfpack
side.
grows, doesn't it? David Kidwell has been appointed as Stephen Kearney's replacement to guide New Zealand into next year's Rugby League World Cup as their head coach. Kidwell will fill the role on a full-time basis, replacing his predecessor Kearney, who was named as Warriors head coach earlier this week. I feel humble and privileged to be named the head coach of the Kiwis, Kidwell said. As assistant, I've watched Stephen build a strong culture within the programme, and I want to make sure that is upheld and becomes even stronger. So continuity, promotion from within, has got to be a good thing for the Kiwis Rugby League side, you would say.
Yeah, you'd think so. Obviously, Kearney's gone to New Zealand Warriors, so there's a spot to fill there, and like you say, it makes sense that it's someone who understands the playing squad, their strengths and stuff, because you don't want to break it up too much with a big tournament ahead.
Exactly.
England,
which is precisely what we'll do. Okay.
This has come quite close to the Four Nations as well, hasn't it? So what they can do is work with him in the system for the handover of the role to be more fluid.
Yeah, and it happens within a tournament atmosphere as well, doesn't it? So that's not bad timing. The FFR Tres have confirmed that Aurélien Cologne has been appointed as the coach of the France national team. The 38-year-old played for Catalan Dragons in the 2006 season and represented France 23 times during his playing career. He has also enjoyed a successful career as a player and coach in French domestic rugby league and has previously coached the France team on an interim basis. So again, somebody who knows setups and structures and has an intimate knowledge of the national game.
And I completely forgot to put in some quotes in French for you to read out.
Oh, stitch me up properly then, couldn't you? Thank you for not doing that. The eligibility rules for International Rugby League are set to be changed, Mark, to help smaller nations, Samoa, Tonga, they're all similar. Similar nations, Fiji. Similar nations, smaller nations. Why do I want to keep saying similar? Smaller nations compete. According to reports under the changes, eligible players can nominate a Tier 1 nation to represent, such as Australia, New Zealand or England, and a Tier 2 nation, for instance Wales, Samoa, Papua New Guinea. Players will be able to switch between their two countries multiple times within a World Cup cycle of 4 years, and there will be no stand-down period between a change of allegiance. Also, players of Polynesian heritage like Anthony Milford and Josh Maguire can play state of origin but still be available to turn out for their native island country. There will be no option for a player swap between England and New Zealand and Australia, ruling out the Morris brothers from playing for England in the future.
Yeah, this is probably my favourite news story of the week, really. And we don't normally do stuff that are actual full stories that are set to happen, but we like this one. Basically, it's kind of what we've been asking for. When you combine it with the residency rule going from 3 years to 5 years, it's a strengthening of making sure that person has the right sort of credentials to be part of that country without hindering the development of the smaller nations. I suppose the time I would love to come in the future when that decision isn't between a Tier 1 and a Tier 2 nation. I would love for that to happen in the future, but we have to be realistic about the position the game's in at the moment, and if we want to have the developing nations, we want rugby league to become the sport in all of the island countries. We want it to become a bigger sport in the Northern Hemisphere, in countries like America, Canada, Ireland, Wales, Scotland. So anything we can do to encourage that is important, and this is a good step, I think, to being able to do that, and it'll make it less of a wreck for heritage players coming into major tournaments and that sort of thing. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it is a very good step forward. And particularly the state of origin thing helps out a lot from looking at an NRL perspective. And it's obviously they're opening their eyes up to the opportunities of being the biggest sport on, albeit tiny island nations, but to be the biggest sport on those nations is only good for rugby league. Of course it is, absolutely. And it helps the young people coming through and wanting to learn to play a version of rugby to take that up and can only improve the player pool.
And finally, Hull FC have announced the launch of their first ever female team. The formation of Hull FC Ladies comes on the back of a hugely successful all-female rugby league camp for girls aged 12 and older at the club's Youth Performance Centre. Supported by Active Humber and Hull University, over 20 girls from across the Hull region attended the camp, where they received coaching from the Hull FC Foundation. The team aims to provide a pathway for girls into female rugby league, following an increased level of participation in the female game. Hull FC become the latest First Utility Super League team to launch a female setup, following on from Castleford Tigers and Wakefield Trinity, who launched their respective teams earlier this year. Bulls have also launched a team this year as well, and they're doing very well in their division.
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
It's good for female rugby league. Plus the news that comes off the news from last week that I don't think we squeezed, and I think it fell in the sort of gap of after the rundown's done but before the show's done.
Yeah.
Of the Rugby League World Cup for women next year to run alongside the men's tournament, which will hopefully help showcase that more. It's going to be Sydney dominated, which is not what the men's World Cup's going to be, so it gives that link for Sydney fans to watch some, world class rugby league. Let's be fair, these girls are great.
It's phenomenal.
The Gillaroos Ferns games at the Auckland Nines have almost become like a highlight in themselves of the tournament, as much as any of the seeing what the young NRL players can do and that sort of thing. So it's good for female rugby league, and it's good to see Hull FC taking this move. Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah, really to be encouraged. Right, that's the news from Rugby League. Then let's take a look back now at round 6 of the Super 8s. Right, so round 6 of the Super 8s, things are definitely taking a bit more shape now. We'll start on Thursday night over at Bellevue Mark. It was Wakefield 12, Hull FC 18, a closer scoreline than I predicted, but a win for the Black and Whites nonetheless.
And I'm not entirely certain on the balance of what I saw of the game, which was most of the game, but with the commentary off.
Yeah.
Which sometimes helps, actually, that they were fully deserved winners.
Right.
Because Wakefield really put up a good effort in this one. There was the early sin bin in for Tuli Talanoa, which it didn't feel like it was coming from what I could see of the game, but I don't know if there was more of an atmosphere that I couldn't follow with the sound off with our guests round it.
Right.
I did well to watch as much as I did without getting in trouble, to be fair.
It does sound like you got off pretty lightly there.
But so that around that, Wakefield had a lot of position and possession, but they didn't fully take advantage. I think they just scored the one try during that period. Okay. Hull FC didn't look threatening either, though. Yeah. Through much of the game, and it came down to two things that happened in the last 10 minutes or so, really. Mm-hmm. There was the controversial no try. I think it was Bill Tupu who went over to score it from... I could be wrong because like I say, I had the sound off and I can't remember it that vividly, but Craig Hall, I think, put a kick up, then knocked his own kick, knocked his own kick in the air. The kick, the knock hit Jamie Shaw, who then it went off Jamie Shaw, and then it was put down. Live call was no try for a knock on in the air in the contest.
Right.
And the video referee, Phil Bentham, I believe, didn't see sufficient evidence to overturn it, and
it was a bit of a theme for the weekend, wasn't it?
It was really in those first two TV games, and then the other big moment was Mahe Fanua, who sprung into life and bulldozed his way through, over, round, what have you, the Wakefield defence. Yeah. Got right up the field, offloaded it to the man outside him, who then played the ball. Fanua managed to barge over from close range then after that had happened, with the Wakefield defenders scattered from his run. But other than that, for New Runner, there wasn't great excitement and skill level from what I saw. It was a tough, turgid game.
Yeah,
I might be wrong.
You've got to think. All FC would have wanted to, not necessarily on a marker, but against a team, inverted commas, with not a right lot to play for. I know that isn't always, applicable in rugby league, but